everybody, and welcome to the midweek edition of the 4-Star Chicago Sports Podcast. We are the Barely There Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a huge week, and I think it's a very important game for the Chicago Bears as we move forward into the season. Looks like, Kyle, it could be our last easy winnable game on the schedule, but with the injuries that are starting to mount for our beloved, I don't know that this game is going to be that easy either. How you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Oh, living the dream. Had a fantastic night, an even better morning, and it's time for us to get into a little bit some of the things. I mean, I think we should maybe just start off with this injury list because I just pulled it up in front of me because the list is so long I can't remember it all. But it looks like Amendola, Billings, Brisker, Jones, Braxton, and Jalen were did not practice, and it does appear that
Darnell Wright as well. He didn't practice.
Is he on here as a do not practice? Yep, he was. Sorry about that. Darnell Wright, and it does seem as though we have lost Andrew Billings for the year, and we're going to get into that because that's really, really big, especially with the Bears getting gashed on the ground in the desert last week. We got Ramondre Stevenson coming in, man. That dude's a super talented back, and if the Bears can't get control of that guy, he's going to run all over us on the lakefront this weekend. As we continue down this injury list, we did have for the second week in a row, we got Kyler Gordon to practice. I don't know if he's going to play. Looks like Noah Sewell was limited. Terrell Smith was limited. Montez Sweat was limited. Darrell Taylor was limited. Ryan Bates and Tevin Jenkins were both full participants, and it does seem as though Ryan Bates is coming off of IR and probably going to start this week, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So, out of all these injuries, outside of what's going on, Bruce, outside of our guy Andrew Billings,
what's up, Bruce?
the plug in the middle, what's your biggest injury concern going into the New England Patriots matchup this Sunday?
Well, Sean, my biggest injury concern doesn't necessarily have to do with the Patriots, but it's Jaquan Brisker for sure. I mean, now I've heard rumblings that they're talking about shutting this guy down for the rest of the season. If that's the case, that they're going to shut down Jaquan Brisker because of the concussion for the rest of the season, then they're not just talking about the rest of the season, Sean. They're talking about maybe the end of his career. I mean, this guy's had, 4 concussions since he's joined the NFL, and now they're talking about this concussion, which, I don't know if you guys remember or not, but Jaquan Brisker played in that game after that hit where he knocked out Tommy Tremble and obviously knocked himself out as well. He came back into that game. So how the NFL didn't find them ding the Bears for that is crazy to me. But this is becoming a pattern now, right, Sean? I mean, this is people talk about it with Tua Tagovailoa all the time because he's quarterback. I mean, the same could be said for Jaquan Brisker. He's in trouble, man. I mean, you get enough head injuries, sooner or later the doctors start telling you, hey, man, maybe it's probably time for you to think about doing something else besides playing football. The good news for the injuries on the Wednesday, the injury report is that Montez Sweat was a limited practice, and from what I've heard, they do probably expect him to play this week. They even said he probably could have played last week. They just didn't want to risk it. But it's a shin injury. It's nothing very super concerning. It's not a knee. It's not an ankle. It's not a pec. It's nothing like that. It's just a shin injury. And I do believe, Sean, that we're given clear evidence on Sunday that Montez Sweat is probably the most important player of the Chicago Bears defense. He's not on the field. It is a completely different team. I mean, if the quarterback can sit back in the pocket, doesn't have to be worried about being pressured on every single play, or even the timing of every play being broken up by the pressures and the QB pressures that Montez Sweat creates. They're just not a very good defense, man. I mean, it's clear and obvious that Montez Sweat takes this team to a whole new level. He needs to play on Sunday, or the Bears are going to be in trouble again.
Yeah, the Bears did pick up 3 sacks without him last week, and as we have the number 3 overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft, making his first start on the lakefront against the Bears, he did. Even though he is a talented individual, he did take 4 sacks. He threw 2 interceptions, and he fumbled twice last week against Tennessee. I do like the makeup of Drake May overall. I think he's got a big arm. He's got great legs. I've said this before. He kind of reminds me of a young Josh Allen. He's got the big arm, the legs, their height, their weight. They're almost identical. and we're going to get to see him. And, he's going to be a problem for the Bears without Andrew Billings. Andrew Billings is such a huge part of this defense. And you guys, that middle is going to be wide open. And everyone's like, oh, we get to see Pickens now. Well, guys, we don't know what Pickens is. And I'm not going to be here comfortable saying, oh, Pickens is just going to replace what Andrew Billings did, because I don't believe that he can at this moment.
No.
Maybe he'll step up and he'll show us. We could say that. But at this moment, that's a big loss for the Bears. And I'm thinking to myself, man, we gave up over 200 rushing yards last week. We got Ramondre Stevenson coming in here, a mobile quarterback who can get out of the pocket. The Bears offense needs to step it up this week, man. They might have to score some points. So,
well, Sean, the good news about Montez Sweat is it's not just getting after the quarterback. Montez Sweat being back is huge for the run game as well. He's actually probably the best run stopper on the defensive line besides Andrew Billings. And to be honest with you, Sean, if you look at Andrew Billings' numbers this year, he has not been great at stopping the run. And I'm not saying that losing Andrew Billings is a good thing or the Bears are going to get better because of it, because they're certainly not going to. Andrew Billings takes up a lot of space in the middle of that defensive line, but Montez Sweat was top 10 in the NFL in tackles for loss, quarterback pressure. I mean, basically every statistical category you can have as a defensive lineman. Last year, he was top 10 in every single one. What's concerning for the Bears is their run defense has been leaky at times this season with Andrew Billings.
Yeah.
We saw what it was. We saw what it was without Montez Sweat and Andrew Billings on Sunday. I mean, they gave up over 200 yards rushing to the Arizona Cardinals. And I don't see anywhere how it gets better. And unfortunately for the Bears, they decided that their team is good enough to win games, or they don't really care about the rest of the season because they didn't do anything at the trade deadline, absolutely nothing. And I believe that they knew Andrew Billings was going to be out for the season while the trade deadline was still open. So obviously the Bears aren't too concerned about the rest of the season. Now, that being said, I would like to see Zach Pickens at some point. I mean, he was a third-round pick for the Bears last year. At some point, you have to see what you have in this guy. I'm not saying he's going to be good or bad, but wouldn't you like to know? Wouldn't you like to figure that out before you go into next year's draft, the next free agency class, and decide where the holes in this team are? You got to know at some point, right? And I'm not sold that. I think Ryan Poles may have missed again. I mean, if this guy, I know he's been hurt a lot, so that's why he hasn't been playing, but he played sparingly last week and he's healthy. They're saying he's healthy again. So obviously they don't have a lot of faith in him. He's just not the player that they thought he was going to be. So, but at some point, Sean, you have to figure that out. I mean, you're coming down to you're running out of time here. I mean, we have half the season left. And the Bears are going to go to the offseason and not know what they have in sorry. and Pickens, and it's kind of the same thing we saw last year with Roschon Johnson, right? Like they went out, they barely played him so sparingly, and then they went out and got a running back, and we still have no idea what Roschon Johnson is capable. He could be a very good spell back in the NFL, and the Bears are using him for 2-3 carries a game. Like, guys, give DeAndre Swift some relief. Every other team in the NFL is doing it. Every other team in the NFL has 2 running backs that have multiple carries a game, upwards of 10 carries a game. Why can't the Chicago Bears do that? It doesn't make sense to me. But you're right, Sean. I mean, if the Bears are going to win this game, if this defense is going to be as banged up as it looks like it's going to be, it's time for Caleb Williams and this offense to become what we think they're capable. Particularly Caleb Williams, what we think he's capable of doing. Now, that being said, Sean, it's going to be tough to do that behind an offensive line that's made up of God. I don't know who's going to play right tackle. I mean, if Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones are out, who's right tackle? Who's your right tackle?
I have a feeling we're going to see Matt Pryor out there. We're going to see Larry Borum out there, and it's going to be a nightmare.
But isn't this what we talked about before the season? We didn't want to see this offensive line start shuffling guys around and moving guys around. We want everybody to be in their spot and have a good, capable backup at every single spot. And the Bears, once again, refused to address the offensive line. And here we are talking about the same problems we've been talking about for the last 3 years. It's unacceptable. Yeah. This is a team that was built by a GM who was a former offensive lineman, guys. This guy played offensive line in the NFL for the Chicago Bears. And somehow, some way, some shape, some form, he can't figure out how important the offensive line is, or he's just not very good at drafting and adding them in free agency. It's becoming a problem.
I will tell you this, that we have had a number of missed opportunities here with draft picks through polls, and it's starting to become a theme to me because Roschon, like you just touched on, not getting any touches. We don't know what Tyler Scott is. He can't even get on the field. We're going to find out what the South Carolina product Zach Pickens is this week because he's definitely going to be out there. I mean, the woes are starting to match the what do you say, the successes of Ryan Poles. And if you have a GM that's 50-50, and I don't want to bag on Ryan Poles too much, but these mistakes are what create long-term problems. And when you look, just take our counterparts in our division, the Detroit Lions, when they started this rebuild, the first thing they did was go offensive line. They went out this year, added to their defensive line, but they went both sides because they added Hutchinson. They went out and they signed DJ Reader. They went out and drafted 3 top linemen and then added to it, and you're sitting here looking in our entire career, and we know games are won in the trenches on both sides of the wall. And for 3 years in a row, Ryan Poles has just ignored the entire situation. It is really baffling to me when you look at 22, 23, 24 and say, wow, we're back here. We can't protect the quarterback. We're probably destroying the development of Caleb Williams. He has his own problems, as all rookie quarterbacks do, but not giving him an offensive line, not giving him a professional center to go out and work with are glaring mistakes. I mean, Kyle, we sat here all off season, and I mean, we were dead set. We thought that this guy was going to hire sign a center for your rookie quarterback. I'm just so lost with the thinking here and going into the season again, drafting this quarterback and just building the team wrong. I love the additions that he's made. You did put a lot of stars, but you know what you did? You bought a mansion in the ghetto. If I could, use a reference there. Like, I just don't understand. I don't think right now this is a playoff team. I know we're going to get into that. With this offensive line, I mean, I feel like here we go again. We're playing another terrible defense. New England ranks overall 25th ranked D, 25th against the pass, 27th against the rush. They've allowed 10 rushing touchdowns on the season. They're allowing 136 rushing yards per game. I feel like this is deja vu from last week. We were saying, hey, these are almost the exact same numbers as the Arizona Cardinals. So I'm sitting here like, man, how confident am I? I think my confidence level is a little higher because Drake May is a rookie and it's not Kyler Murray running the ship, a veteran. But I would be really scared for the Bears even winning this game if there was a veteran quarterback under center for New England.
Yeah, Sean, the one good thing about this New England team is they have allowed now 31 sacks on the season. I mean, that is for how far we are into the season, that's astronomical. I mean, Drake May has absolutely been running for his life in every game, and he's responded pretty well. I think Drake May has played very well for the Patriots. I think it was a good draft pick for them. But, I mean, in terms of Ryan Poles, Sean, it's not even about the quantity of his successes and failures anymore. It's about how big the impact each failure has. And Sean,
correct.
We're talking about the same thing we've been talking about for the last 10 years. The Bears drafted Mitch Trubisky, kept John Fox with them. They fired John Fox the next year. So in the first 2 years, Mitch Trubisky had a different head coach and a different system he had to learn. They got Justin Fields with Matt Nagy. They fired Matt Nagy the year after they drafted Justin Fields. So Justin Fields, in his first 2 years, had a different coach and had to learn a different system in the NFL. And now it looks like Caleb Williams, he decided to retain Matt Eberflus. They drafted Caleb Williams. It looks like now, again, Caleb Williams is going to have a different head coach and have to learn a different system in his second year. I mean, this is not a recipe for successful football. This is not going to win you games in the NFL. Eventually, the Bears need to do this the right way. They keep doing everything backwards. And Sean, coming into the season, I thought to myself, man, I believe Caleb Williams is so good that there's no way the Bears can screw him up. But you know what? After this, if there's one team in the NFL that can do it, it's the Chicago Bears. They 100% can. They do everything backwards. Everything this organization does is backwards. And eventually somebody needs to hold them accountable. I mean, the fans need to hold them accountable. This is getting ridiculous. If you could screw up Caleb Williams' development, you are the master of screwing up quarterbacks, because this guy, by all accounts, every other team in the NFL wanted him. Every other team in the NFL wanted him. Any other team in the NFL, all the other GMs in the NFL said, if I had the number one pick in this year's draft, I would draft Caleb Williams. The Bears made the right move. They just did it in the worst way possible. I mean, you can't bring a rookie quarterback here with no offensive line and with a head coach who's a coconut, who doesn't know anything about it. As far as I can tell, doesn't know anything about offense at all. I mean, this team is absolutely looks like once again, Sean, we are becoming the laughing stock of the NFL. We have completely flipped sides with the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions
100%
are the team to beat in the NFC North, and we are the laughing stock of the NFC North. It's becoming unbearable to be a Chicago Bears fan, and you know what, a Chicago sports fan for that matter. But I will say about this game in particular, Sean, I do believe that there is some validity behind the Bears' home and road splits, and I think they are a much better team at home. I think they're a totally different team at home than they are on the road. I mean, it's insane. I've actually never seen home and road splits like I have with the Chicago Bears this year. I mean, to be number one in scoring at home at 32 points per game and almost dead last on the road at 13 points per game is insane. Have you ever seen home road splits like that ever in NFL history? It's insane. I mean, they can't. All they do at home is score touchdowns, and all they do on the road is kick field goals or punt. I mean, it's insane. I've never seen anything like it. But I will say, Sean, you said it already. I mean, I said this last week, so I don't really know how much it matters. But the Patriots are just not a good football team. They also have 3 offensive linemen on IR right now. I'm sorry. I think they have 2 on IR and another one who still hasn't played since the beginning of the season, who came in with an injury, and they still don't know what's wrong with this guy. So I mean, like I said, they've allowed 31 sacks already, guys. We're in week 9. They've allowed 31 sacks. They're on pace for like 60 sacks allowed this season. That's insane. The Bears, if Montez Sweat plays in this game, and say they get somebody back, just a few of those guys like Kyler Gordon maybe plays, there's no reason the Bears shouldn't beat this team. And I don't care if it's one of those ugly games that's 17-16. I don't care. But the Bears should win this game. I mean, if they don't, Sean, if the Bears don't beat New England, the New England Patriots at home, you need to fire Matt Eberflus on Monday.
I was going to say, if they don't win this game, he has to go. I don't
care.
The Bears have never done it in their history. You cannot let this guy patrol your sideline anymore. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do if they lose to this bad football team. I know they just beat the Jets at home. I think when they beat the Jets 2 weeks ago, I think they were in New England. But I mean, they are a capable team. And if the Bears come out with the same effort that they had, and I know that we're talking a little bit about Arizona and you know how they gave up all those rushing yards and everything. I just think that was a team that was checked out in that football game because we haven't seen the Bears look that bad, and they looked pitiful. They looked like they weren't there at all. And I just wanted to touch on 4 stars up here on this. I am a little bit more scared of the Patriots with May than Brissett. I'm just a little bit more scared of any quarterback that's capable after last week because I don't like what I saw. I don't like that these players look checked out. That defense, I mean, you go back to that 52-yard run at the end of the half, you can watch that 100 times. You won't find a Bear running at full speed trying to tackle that guy. That was just like, dude, jaw-dropping. Like, they gave up. Maybe they had another team meeting, and hopefully this will get their head out of their ass. But they can't come out with that kind of effort that they had. Hopefully they don't in front of the home crowd. I'm going to pray because I didn't even know what to think in that game. Watching this team just give zero effort. It was so frustrating. And I understand they improved in the second half. They only gave up a couple of field goals, but it just still. But
the Cardinals also took their foot off the gas, and
they did.
They weren't. If it had been a tied game and they were going for it on 4th down, the Bears may have given up another 2 touchdowns that half because the Bears couldn't stop them. You couldn't stop the run, so you can't stop them. I will say though, Sean, you know, we've talked about how. For me personally, Sean, the playoffs that conversation is done. This football team is not good enough to. Even if they did make the playoffs, they would get absolutely just chewed up and spit out by whoever they played. You could pick any team in the NFC that makes the playoffs; they would absolutely dominate, and destroy the Bears. It's not just that, Sean. We've talked about this on Monday. We need to start worrying about the development of Caleb Williams. I mean, this is the future of the Chicago Bears. This guy's going to be here for the next 12, 15 years, guys. Whether we like it or not, I don't care if you're a Caleb Williams fan or not. He is your quarterback for the next 10 years. So. The Bears need to focus solely on making sure that Caleb Williams, A, isn't getting hit every single play, and B, isn't losing every game because we've seen what losing does to quarterbacks while they're being developed in the rookie season. It's not good. And Sean, we've talked about this before. If they continue to put this offensive line out here and don't get the ball out of his hands very quickly, or run the ball 40 times, he's going to start to develop bad habits where he starts seeing ghosts. He's not stepping up in the pocket. Instead, he's trying to get out of the pocket when it's a clean pocket because he's afraid of getting hit. I mean, this stuff is going to start to happen. And the Bears need to put the kibosh on this right now, like immediately, because at this point, Sean, I don't give a shit about the playoffs anymore. This team, obviously, and you know what, Sean? Even if this Bears team that we saw against Jacksonville and Carolina made the playoffs, I still don't think they were good enough to win the Super Bowl or anything like that.
No.
Especially with this offensive line. But at this point, the only thing that the Bears should be concerned about is the development of Caleb Williams. You need to create a set of plays for him where he gets the ball out of his hands immediately. I mean, snap the ball, throw, because he cannot keep standing back here behind, no disrespect at all, but Bill Murray, Matt Pryor, Larry Borum. He can't. These Coleman Shelton, Ryan Bates. These guys are not going to protect him. And eventually, Ryan, you think the defense gave up on the Bears? Caleb Williams will eventually too. Eventually, you got to start worrying about your health, Sean, your own life.
Too. And speaking of giving up, I do want to address Bears Nation a little bit on this DJ Moore thing, because it's become a big deal. And I mean, I'm watching all these different shorts now. He's getting blasted on Twitter, and I love DJ Moore. I think he's a national treasure. I think he's a great guy. Now you had people today saying that he's giving up on the Bears because he was a Justin Fields guy, and
that has nothing to do with it, Sean.
I agree.
There's nothing to do with Justin Fields, guys. Nothing to do with Justin Fields. What's concerning to me about DJ Moore is not just the fact that he walked off the field, because obviously he wasn't allowed to touch the ball in that play. It's the accumulation of things we've seen throughout the season. I mean, DJ Moore hanging his head on the sideline
a little bit.
Yeah, he's not happy with the amount of targets he's getting. Then he walks off. I mean, it's all this stuff accumulating on top of each other that's starting to make it look like, to me, DJ Moore is giving up on this team. And you know what, Sean? Maybe that's what this team needs. Maybe they need all these players to say, hey, if you guys aren't going to fire Matt Eberflus, we'll force you to fire Matt Eberflus. We'll just quit playing, and you guys will lose every game for the rest of the season.
I will tell you, because I did touch on this on Monday, I think he might be not upset with his quarterback or even his head coach. I think he might be upset with Shane Waldron, because I don't think Shane Waldron is using him correctly.
He's not.
I mean, we talked about this. He should be a flanker in this offense. Rome should be the X. Cole Kmet should be running up the seam. None of this stuff is happening. And here, I know that there was a lot of speculation. Would Shane Waldron be good? Would he be bad? Some people were like, oh, he'll be adequate enough. Man, is he abysmal, dude. I mean, here, 2 games in a row, you have Cole Kmet, and he had 63 snaps. I'm pretty sure it was 63 snaps against Arizona this past week. For him to have 1 target is absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. What did he have against Washington? 0 targets?
0. He was not throwing 2 against Washington.
You're talking about one of your primary weapons has 1 target in 2 weeks? You started the season with trying to make Gerald Everett your top tight end? Oh my God.
That's what I'm talking about, Sean. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, you look at Shane Waldron. I mean, now you have to start worrying about Caleb Williams' development. Sean, is Caleb Williams a capable quarterback? I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the NFL. Is he a capable quarterback?
I do believe.
From what you've seen in college on film and what you've seen against the bad football teams, yes. So how is Caleb Williams now ranked bottom 3 and passes over 15 yards? So accuracy percentage. So he's ranked down there with Bryce Young and Spencer Rattler. You guys. Those are not good names to be a part of. No. That is not a good group to be part of. And on top of that, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze are all in the top 10 in the NFL this year. You're talking about hundreds of receivers. They're all in the top 10 this year, and passes that have been thrown to them being inaccurate, uncatchable passes. I mean, Kyle, that's not the Caleb Williams we know. We know he's capable of making those passes.
You just stole the words right out of my mouth, because per True Media, the highest inaccurate target rates per players with a minimum of 25 targets this season. Number 6 is Rome Odunze at 22.7. Number 8 is Keenan Allen at 21.4. And number 10 is DJ Moore at 20%.
Yeah, and that's not Caleb Williams, Sean. That's not the guy we drafted. That's not the guy I watched at USC. That's not the guy I watched in the preseason throw that pass on the move to Rome Odunze that dropped over his shoulder and landed right in his hands. That's not this guy. Caleb Williams isn't the guy that the Bears are making him look like he is. The problem with the Chicago Bears is they're not running the right style of offense. First of all, like you said, Sean, I mean, Dustin said it on Monday. DJ Moore needs to be used like Deebo Samuel. Get the ball in his hands quickly and get the ball and get him in open space and see what he can do. He could create. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL over the last 5 years at yards after the catch, and he hasn't been given that opportunity. Secondly, Keenan Allen's the slot receiver. He's running too deep of routes. You can't have these play. You guys have the worst offensive line in the NFL, and you're making these plays where all three wide receivers need 4 or 5 seconds to develop their routes 15, 16, 20 yards down the field. That's not that's not the style of offense the Bears need to be running right now. Now, if the Bears had an offensive line, that would probably work out for them with the skill set that these guys have. But right now, with Caleb Williams snapping the ball and immediately somebody's in his face, that ball needs to get out of his hand instantly. The second he snaps it, he needs to be throwing into curl routes, out routes, slant routes, all the Bears screens, dump offs. I mean, this is not. Shane Waldron is exactly what I thought he was going to be. Shane Waldron has the style of offense that he runs, and you know what? He's even changed a little bit when he came to Chicago, but he's incapable. He's incapable of adjusting in season, and he was the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL last year at third down conversion rate. He's the second, where the Bears are the second last this year at third down conversion rate. He's exactly what they signed. They got exactly what they wanted. They got the guy. He is exactly what we thought he was going to be. He's average to below average, and now he's playing with a team that doesn't have an offensive line. So now you're seeing what he is.
You know, too, and I was watching Tim Jenkins Elite the other day. And for those who don't know, he's a quarterback guru. He breaks down plays, does the all 22s, and has football quarterback school and all that other stuff like JT O'Sullivan. But Tim Jenkins was actually breaking down plays and showing from up high, looking down at the field while Caleb Williams is scrambling. And he said one of the oldest things in the NFL is a scramble drill. The Bears should practice this, and the receivers should know when the quarterback scrambles to come back to the ball. These films he was showing, the Bears are not coming back to the ball. These receivers are not helping their quarterback. And when you have a guy like Keenan Allen, I can expect that from Rome as a rookie learning in the NFL. Hey, I got to do this. But to see that from DJ Moore and Keenan Allen not coming back and helping your quarterback is just absolutely crazy to me. And
it's disheartening.
I don't know. I just say, again, and this absolutely sucks, man. But we have to blow it up again.
Mm-hmm.
Again.
Yeah, it's got to be again. Yeah. Well, you know, you can't tell me that DJ Moore has like these plans to sabotage the Bears because they traded Justin Fields. I'll tell you guys something right now. The second the Bears gave DJ Moore $110 million, he doesn't give a shit about Justin Fields anymore. I promise you that. I guarantee it. I guarantee it 110% that he doesn't give a shit about Justin Fields anymore. DJ Moore is not unhappy with Caleb Williams, and he's probably not unhappy with the Bears. He's unhappy with Shane Waldron and Matt Eberflus. That's what I think. And you know what? You can see it, Sean. People are like, well, you guys don't know what's going on in the locker room. You can't possibly know what's happening in those conversations. Sean, they've had 3 team meetings already. We're in week 9. They've had 3 team meetings. Not only that, but on top of that, listen to just you guys. You don't need to be a rocket scientist. Go listen to their interviews. Go listen to the interviews that the players are having.
You seem defeated.
They're calling the coaches out. They're doing it in the most respectful and I guess you'd say polite way possible. They're kind of like passive aggressive about it. Like, well, you know, it doesn't matter what the play call is. We have to execute. What they're saying is, yeah, that's not a good play call. And you know what? When they come out and say, I've seen that we've done that in practice where we hand the ball off to Doug Kramer, but I didn't think that would ever happen in the middle of the game when it was almost tied. And in that situation, I mean, that's calling the coaches out. That's what that is, guys. Yeah, I mean, that's what this is. They want Matt Eberflus fired. It's going to happen. He's going to be fired this season. The question is, can Caleb Williams make it till the end of the season? A, alive. Can he make it through the season without being killed? And B, without developing bad habits and screwing up his development? That's the question. And the Bears better be their focus. Right now, that better be their focus.
I will touch on this from 4-Star Chicago Sports checking in here. On the Tim Jenkins Elite, you are absolutely right. The best player on the receivers that is coming back to the ball is Rome Odunze. He did point that out. I was just merely stating I would expect that from a rookie where he doesn't quite understand everything in the NFL. And I'm very disappointed that it's not happening from our professional receivers that we brought into this club to help out the rookie quarterback.
Sean, have we talked about? Did we not talk about this with Justin Fields a ton? Like you guys. When you have a rookie quarterback who's struggling, he's struggling to play his style of game. He can't the passes aren't as accurate as they normally would be if he had more time, or the NFL slowed down for him a little bit and he had more experience. You have to help him out. That's what you have to. So Keenan Allen dropping passes on third down. Yeah. That's not helping your quarterback, guys.
He's washed.
Not coming back to the ball when your quarterback's running for his life. That's not helping your quarterback, guys. How about these games where, like Sean, for instance, you remember that Browns game last year? I think it was the Browns game. How different could that game have been if, what was the tight end's name from Green Bay? What was the guy that we signed for 1 year last year? What was his name?
Oh my God.
It just, you know what I'm talking
He
about.
was on my fantasy football team when he was on
the pass that he dropped, Robert Tonyan, when he dropped that pass down the field. Though you have to make those plays for rookie quarterbacks. Listen, if that's Patrick Mahomes and you drop that ball, you'll both laugh it off, and Patrick Mahomes will throw you that same pass 3 plays later. You're going to score a touchdown. This is not Patrick Mahomes. These are players with Caleb Williams. A pass like that, what that could do for his confidence for the rest of the game, throwing a 60-yard bomb, or Justin Fields throwing a 60-yard bomb, dropping it right in the breadbasket, and they drop it. What that could do for him if you catch that pass and score a touchdown, and his first drive, he's 2 for 3 with 75 yards and a touchdown. It's a completely different game. That's a completely different game. Time and time again, these players are not helping the rookie quarterback, and it sucks because these are the guys. When we signed Keenan Allen, extended DJ Moore, and drafted Rome Odunze, we're like, well, now there's no chance of that failing. These guys are going to catch these passes, but they're not. And you know what, Sean? Eventually, you have to start. You can't say that Keenan Allen was one of the best receivers in the NFL for the last 10 years, and then came to Chicago Bears and forgot how to play football. That's not possible. So what's happening is it's either A, the system, or B, the head coach. And either way, it's coaching. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, it all comes back down to coaching. It's all coaching. Eventually, these guys should be fired right now. If the Bears really care about Caleb Williams' development, Shane Waldron and Matt Eberflus should be fired today. Yesterday, they should be fired.
They should have never made it back on the plane home from Arizona.
No. Ryan Poles should have called them and been like, you know what? You guys just take a vacation, hang out there in Arizona. Eric Washington, you come back, you're head coach of the Chicago Bears. And I don't care who takes over as offensive coordinator, because honestly, Sean, I don't think there's anybody in the Bears staff right now that would be a good offensive coordinator in the NFL, because I don't think Matt Eberflus is good at hiring offensive coaches. I don't believe it. I haven't seen it yet.
You know, one of the things too, and I don't want to bag on Poles too much, but you go back and you say, hey, we brought this guy in. Wouldn't it have been way easier to just re-sign Darnell Mooney, and a guy that was drafted? I know it wasn't drafted under this regime, but man, he certainly looks all the bit of a 1,000-yard receiver in Atlanta right now. I mean, you brought in he brought in guys like Claypool, EQ, Henry, Shelton, Matt Pryor, Rippon, Gerald Everett, Mercedes Lewis. I'm trying to think of some other guys. Dante Pettis. He brought in Nate Davis, for the love of Christ. We're paying a ton of money. We can't even get it on the field because he sucks.
Excluding Nate Davis, because Ryan Poles paid him $30 million for 3 years, $10 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the guys you just mentioned, and Darnell Mooney falls in this conversation as well. We have to start asking ourselves, guys, how much of this is Ryan Poles and how much of this is in the McCaskey family and saying limit your spending? I mean, why are the Bears going out the free agency with the second, third most money of any team in free agency, and they're signing these guys who are perennial backups, and most of them, if they played on any other team in the NFL, would never even see the field. But here the Bears are like, oh, we have all this money. We signed DeAndre Swift, so that was a good signing, right? That was a lot of money, and they spent money on him, and he's a good player. And after that, it was like, now we're so arrogant, we're so awesome. We could just take a bunch of garbage and make one of the best teams. Like, that's not working anymore, guys. If you want to be a good football team, you have to start signing star players. Your team should have as many blue chip players as you possibly can have on your roster. And right now, the Bears are not doing that. Their offensive line, I don't know if there's an offensive lineman on the Chicago Bears that I would consider above average besides Tevin Jenkins.
Now, as you say that, Tevin Jenkins was not drafted by this regime either. But then we start going into the drafts after the people that have been signed. And we have Velus Jones released. Tyler Scott, he's on a milk carton. Braxton Jones, decent, maybe one of his best picks, 5th round pick.
Certainly for the value. I'm not saying that Braxton Jones is a great left tackle, guys, but for the 5th round pick, the fact that he's serviceable, that's an amazing pick for Ryan Poles. But I mean, Sean, keep going. I mean, Noah Sewell, have you even seen? Has he even played? Has he even played?
You got Zach Thomas. Cut. Trenton Gill released. Karan Amadaji project.
Injured project.
Stevenson, pretty good. Needs a little bit of an attitude adjustment. Noel Sewell has 12 tackles in his NFL career. Terrell Smith is on the bench, but actually when he played,
I like Terrell Smith. Another great pick for Ryan Poles, because that was a late pick as well, but a great value pick. Ryan Poles seems to be better in the 4th and 5th round than he is in the 1st and 2nd. I mean, you got Zach Pickens. Zach Pickens, not you guys don't want to say real about Zach Pickens real quick.
Was Pickens his 3rd or 4th round?
3rd. His not coming in on the Chicago Bears coming into the draft. his knock was he was supposed to be really good in high school, never really became like the dominant player that's like, just destroy, how these guys who play in the NFL play in high school. They have like 17,000 yards rushing, because they're just so much better than everybody else around them. He wasn't that good in high school. They said he never reached his peak, his ceiling. They said the same exact thing about him in South Carolina. Right, the same exact thing. They said he has the stature, he's got the body, he's got the physicality to be a good player in the NFL or in college, but he never really reached his peak. And here we are in the Chicago Bears, and we barely even seen him because they obviously don't trust him enough to put him on the field. And now the only reason he's going to play this Sunday is due to injuries. But your third round pick, Sean, should be making contributions before injury.
Should be on the field.
He should have been making contributions last year at some point to this team, and he is not. So once again, you've missed again, another wasted third round pick for the Chicago Bears. And I'm sorry, man, but you guys, I don't want to pile on Ryan Poles in the show either, because I still think Ryan Poles should be given the last year of his contract. I do think he's earned that, because I do think this team is becoming a competitive team. I think there's less holes today than there was 3 years ago. I think all you got to do for the Bears at this point is address the offensive and defensive lines, and they have the money and draft capital to do that. But there's a really, really big miss that Ryan Poles is talking about, or that Ryan Poles had that nobody's talking about. Obviously, you guys know, we've all talked about how bad Velus Jones is and the fact that the Bears have cut him and he's now a Jacksonville Jaguar. We've all talked about that, right? But what nobody's talking about is the fact that the Bears were offered a 4th-round pick for Velus Jones Jr. in the preseason, guys.
And he turned it down to keep Velus Jones on this roster for 7 weeks and then cut him. You could have had another 4th-round picks are valuable picks in the NFL draft. You can say we want about 6th, 7th round picks. Maybe those guys rarely ever play or don't make it. But 4th round picks are expected to make contributions to your football team. And you pass one up for Velus Jones, a receiver who can't catch the football. That's almost unforgivable to me, man. That's too, about like knowing a player's makeup and ability and things in which they can do. And I'm sure a lot of people don't know this. Roschon Johnson could be used in so many different ways. This guy rushed for 5,000 yards in high school and threw for 7,700 yards in high school. He also had a season where he had 35 rushing touchdowns, or 35 passing touchdowns and 29 rushing touchdowns. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, a guy that's this talented, he went to Texas, and the only reason he became a running back was because they had so many injuries. He went to Texas as a quarterback. Obviously, very talented individual, and you cannot figure out, for a second year in a row, a second offensive coordinator that we hired, cannot figure out how to get this guy involved in the offense in any way, shape, or form. I'm sorry. I understand it's high school. Those numbers are astronomical. He wasn't picked by Howard. He went to the University of Texas, where he was behind Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, and by all accounts, in the draft, that was you know how many draft experts, Sean, said that the best pick in the NFL draft? I'm not talking about for the Bears. I'm talking about the best pick in the NFL draft in terms of value was Roschon Johnson in the 4th round. And on top of that, Sean, how many teams do you see, like let's say the Falcons, where you see Bijan and Algier standing behind the quarterback? They're both on the field at the same time. So teams are like, oh man, we don't know which one's going to get the ball. How are they going to get the ball? Are they going to throw it? Are they going to the Bears never do any of this stuff.
No.
That's what I'm talking about. It all comes back to Shane Waldron and Matt
creativity.
Yes, it's becoming, and he's not even a true spellback. He's not even a true spellback. And you know what? If that's what you think Roschon Johnson, if that's what you think all he's capable of doing is being a number 2 running back in the NFL, fine. So be it. You've made your critique. You think that you've watched him in practice, you watched him on the field. You think he's a backup running back in the NFL. Fine, but use him as a backup running back in the NFL. They're not even doing that. He's you know what he is? Right now, Roschon Johnson to me is, hey, let's give DeAndre Swift a breather every 12 plays and get him off the field 3 plays a game. We'll put Roschon Johnson in there. Yep. Like, what do you have? He had 2 carries last week. He had 2 carries the week before that, I believe, right? Against Washington. I mean, you guys, every team in the NFL is using 2 running backs. Every team in the NFL. Look what it's doing for the Detroit Lions. Look what it's doing for the Atlanta Falcons. Look what these teams are doing with 2. Look what the Steelers did last year with Najee Harris and Warren, Jalen Warren. The Bears are capable. They have the 2 guys to do that. They have them. They're on the roster. You know that there's one guy in the NFL, Sean, who, when given an opportunity inside the 5-yard line, has scored a touchdown on every single carry he's got.
Roshan Johnson.
Roshan Johnson.
Ding,
But
ding, ding, ding.
You know what the Bears decided to do when they got down to the 1 yard line against the Commanders?
Give it to
They
a
decided to
lineman.
give it to Doug Kramer, a guy who has mittens for hands, never carried the ball in his life. He said that high school, college, NFL, he's never touched the ball. And you're in the middle. It was one of the most critical parts of the entire game. And once again, like Justin says all the time, Shane Waldron decides to get cute. Run the ball with a running back, a guy you drafted and paid to run the ball. But not the Chicago Bears, Sean. They're so much smarter than everybody else in the world that they can give it to an offensive lineman. Oh, how'd that work out for him? He fumbled. It almost looked like Doug Kramer was like, I don't want this, and threw it to the defensive line.
You know what, though? They said too, and this was crazy. They were like, well, the placement of the handoff was awful by Caleb Williams. I'm like,
oh my God. I'm so
like,
sick of
come on, guys.
That Bears fans come up with.
Here, I'll tell you this right now. If he's blocking and Roshan Johnson's getting the handoff, we're probably talking about a different result in Washington. Like, this isn't rocket science here.
Sean, if you
here, you know what, really quick,
the field goal, it would have been a different result.
Really quick, too, as you said about Detroit, we also let David Montgomery walk. And that don't look like a really good decision either, based on what he's been a 1,000-yard rusher ever since he left Chicago.
I will say, in terms of David Montgomery, and I've said this before to people, I love David Montgomery. I think he's a very good player. He was always of nothing, but he was a consummate professional in Chicago. I never heard the guy complain. Never heard the guy. Yeah. He did have injury woes. He missed a couple games almost every season.
A couple games,
but running backs do. I mean, that's expected. They get hit more than anybody in the NFL. But I will say this about David Montgomery. I think it would be tough to be a GM to come into a team with so much dead cap to start deciding who you're going to be, start extending guys immediately right off the bat. I think Ryan Poles got here. He was a little overwhelmed. He's like, oh my God, the Bears have so much dead cap. There's so many bad contracts here with Khalil Mack and all these guys. Like, I don't even know where to start. I don't know how to unpile all this. And I think at the time he was just like, I like Dave Montgomery. I probably would like to re-sign him, but just with that position, the way it is, running backs in the NFL, they're just so easy to find nowadays. He probably was like, that's kind of like the least of my concerns. I'll let David walk. I'll let David go play somewhere he wants to play, and I'm going to focus on building this team. So I don't count that as a strike against Ryan Poles. I really don't. It sucks. It was unfortunate. I think it was more like victim of circumstance, Sean. Like, just the timing was wrong. I think if Ryan Poles had gotten here and then 2 years later David Montgomery's contract is up, he probably would still be a Chicago Bear. But just because of the timing, the fact that he was like, I'm not going to spend any money this offseason. All this team sucks. We have to save as much money as we possibly can. I think that's the reason that, not to mention, Sean, I don't think Ryan Poles ever really had faith in Justin Fields to being the guy who could win a Super Bowl. So in the back of his mind, he's like, why am I going to start paying all these guys and surrounding Justin Fields with all this talent? If he's not capable of winning a Super Bowl, I'll just let this team crash and burn, get the first or second pick in the draft, and go get my guy. And I think that's exactly what he did.
How about I mean, again, and I don't want to make it about Justin Fields either, but I guess the offense didn't run too efficiently with him either because he couldn't hit passes down the field. I'm just so lost. I'm kind of like, my stomach is in knots. It's like, man, we had all these expectations coming into the year. We thought this was going to be so better. We knew the offensive line was going to be an issue, but we thought it would be serviceable, and the offensive coordinator would create some schemes that would help the offensive line and help his young quarterback. Just none of this has happened. And I just feel like the Lions have passed us by. They were the doormat of the NFL. Ryan Poles came in here. His first statement was, we're going to take the North and we're never going to get it back. Well, congratulations, because you took us from dead last in the NFC North to dead last in the NFC North. So awesome job, dude. That's all I can say. I'm just, my heart hurts, man, because I love this team so much and I just want them to be good, man. Please.
Well, Sean, I'll tell you this. Ryan Poles has done a lot of good things for the Chicago Bears. He's done a lot of bad things for Chicago. The Chase Claypool trade comes to mind. Yep. Signing PJ Walker for $4 million, only to cut him and pay him that $4 million before the season even started. I mean, there's a laundry list of things that Ryan Poles has done.
That's my question.
And his defense, Sean, he is a rookie. He was a rookie GM when he got to the Chicago Bears, so he should learn and get better as the years go on. We expect that at some point. And you know what? His first trade was Chase Claypool. The second trade was Montez Sweat, a lot better than the first one, right? So obviously he learned that. If you're going to make a trade like that, it's got to be somebody who's a blue chip type player. I will say this, though. The Bears, well, first of all, what sucks for us, man, is we're talking about the same things we've been talking about for 5 years. And we didn't expect to be there, right? We didn't expect to be here. We expected this to be, at this point, we expected to be a middle of the road team who is capable of competing for Super Bowl as early as next season, right?
Yeah.
But But here's what's sad about Ryan Poles. This is what disappoints me the most. And we've already talked about how he was an offensive lineman in the NFL. But Sean, it's the same thing we talked about with the Cubs bullpen. I mean, Sean, if the fans can see it, if we went in the season knowing that Matt Eberflus is not a good football coach and the offensive line was not good enough to protect Caleb Williams, how can the GM of a football team in the NFL not see these things? I mean, eventually he has to be held responsible. I mean, Sean, we're not football experts, right? We don't get paid by ESPN. We're not coaches in the NFL, but we could look at each other and go, man, this offensive line is going to suck. This is going to be rough. Caleb Williams is going to get his head bashed. And, I've had people say to me, well, Kyle, the offensive line was getting better until injuries. You guys, they've dealt with injuries every single season. The injuries are not an if, it's a when. They're coming. True. Injuries are coming. Tevin Jenkins has been injured every single year of his career. And Kairon Amagashi, they drafted him injured. He was injured when they drafted him. You knew these guys were going to suffer through injuries. And they did nothing to injury. And then Nate Davis, they knew Nate Davis was a question mark coming in, did they not? We knew that. We knew that as fans. So the Bears, in the back Ryan Poles had, he's like, man, is this guy a waste of space or not? Like, I can't really tell. But you knew that the question mark was there. So you knew at some point you'd be replacing Nate Davis. You knew at some point you'd have to cover for Tevin Jenkins for a couple of games. You knew Kairon Amagashi wasn't going to be ready for the first 6 weeks of the season. I mean, Sean, we knew all this stuff. They knew all this stuff. Yeah. So if we knew all this stuff, and you assume Ryan Poles knew all this stuff, why was Connor Williams not like a must sign? Why didn't they trade for a guy like Cam Robinson, like the Vikings did as soon as their tackle went down, or even a guard of some sort? Why haven't the Bears addressed any of these offensive line positions? I just don't understand. And to be honest with you, Sean, I think Darnell Wright is a good player. I don't think he's a top 10 player in the draft. I don't think he's played like that. He hasn't played like
that season, but he did have a really good rookie year. He struggled a lot this year.
For being a rookie at right tackle in the NFL, he actually played very well.
I do, though, think that he has been hurt all year because he got hurt with that back injury in the spring, and I think he's been trying to play through it all season. I don't think he's just been healthy this year. I don't know this for a fact. I'm making an assumption because he looked – I mean, we were studying him last year, Kyle. We watch almost every game together. We were studying him. He looked great.
Yeah, he did.
I don't know what's happened to him this year.
Maybe he doesn't like the coaches. Maybe they're all giving up, Sean. I don't know. And I will say this, guys. For everybody out there who's like, yeah, but you can't predict injuries. Let me tell you guys something. I listened to a interview with Kyle Long at 670 The Score. This was like 3 or 4 months ago. Kyle Long was on 670 The Score. You know what Kyle Long said? He said, the only time the Bears have had all 5 starters in the offensive line from start game 1 to the last game of the season, the last time that happened, Sean, 2009. 2009 is the last time the Bears had all 5 offensive linemen for all 16 or 17 games of the season. You know what that means? That means you should expect injuries and draft accordingly. The Bears should not only have signed a center in free agency, they should have drafted his backup as well. I mean, instead, you decided to take Kairon in the 3rd round, a left tackle who, I mean, I'm not saying that Braxton Jones can't be replaced, but it wasn't your biggest need by any means necessary, correct? Do you agree with that, Sean?
I agree. 100%.
Left tackle is not the great. So why would you draft Kairon, who you knew was coming in with an injury, instead of going and drafting a center who maybe at worst he's a backup? If you get lucky, he's a really good player and ends up being a starter. And you know what really pisses me off about the Kairon Amagashi pick, Sean? You know that Matt Eberflus and Kairon Amagashi's dad play golf together all the time?
Oh,
come on. Did you know that? Oh, did you know that?
So
they played. This was before they drafted him. He's good friends with them. They're good friends. Him and his dad are really good friends. I wonder why they drafted Kairon Amagashi with that injury coming into this season.
I got to look at something here.
Nobody else was looking at him.
Amagashi was a 3rd round pick, correct?
Yes.
I just want to Google something here. I want to see when Zach Frazier was drafted this year because he is unbelievable for the Steelers and probably available for the Chicago Bears when they picked, and that would have been the smartest pick on the board for them. Let's see.
Oh, Sean, there's a long list of guys that the Bears could have drafted over Kairon Amagashi. A long, long list. There were still plenty of centers available, plenty of guards available. There was a healthy guys who could have contributed to this team.
Okay, we couldn't get Zach Frazier because he was the 51st pick overall.
Sean, but that center from Georgia, he went in the 4th round. The Bears had a chance to take him in the 3rd. He would have been more valuable to this team right now in the immediate future than Kairon Amagashi. You guys, I'm not sitting here saying Kairon Amagashi is not going to be a good player. What I'm saying is you drafted a rookie quarterback, and your job is to protect him. That was your job. That's all you had to do coming in.
You want to know what's funny?
Make sure you protect your quarterback. And the Bears did everything they possibly could to not do that. They did exactly the opposite.
And I was going to say, what's funny about that is you probably could have gotten Ahmadaji in the 5th round.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a left tackle from Yale, an Ivy League school. Listen, I'm not taking anything away from him. All you can do is judge Karan Amagaji based off of the games.
Sorry about that.
Based off of the competition he's been put up against, and he played very well at Yale. But Sean, I mean, how much can you take up from an offensive lineman that played in Yale, who's the defensive linemen are playing are guys who are never even going to sniff the NFL? I mean, I think that pick was a friend pick. I think that was like, hey man,
I do too.
We're good friends. Your son's coming to the NFL. I'll make sure he's on a team. I think that's what that was, and it's not good. That's not a good way to conduct a business, Sean.
Well,
Sean, do you want to get into this? Do you want to get a little more into this Patriots game, or do you want to?
Yeah. Cedric Van Pran was the name that we were hoping would have been drafted.
Ced Van Pran, yes.
Yeah, that's the guy. I couldn't think of his name. I'm tired today, guys. I had a long day, so my brain isn't as strong.
Sean, your volume's a little low. It doesn't sound like it did before you went out there. But yeah, Sean, not only that, but
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Do you know that Ced Van Pran was before Powers Johnson became like the number 1 center prospect in the NFL draft? The year prior to that, before Powers Johnson had that really good season in Oregon, Ced Van Pran was the general consensus number 1 center going into the draft. If you had gone into the draft the year prior, Ced Van Pran would have been the first center taken in the NFL draft. And he falls to the 4th round, and the Bears select Karan Amagaji.
5th round, dude.
Yeah,
5th round, 141st pick.
And I promise you guys, listen to me right now. You're going to hear Ced Van Pran's name in the NFL. You're going to hear it. He's going to be a good player at some point.
Here, and before we move on, this is my thing too. Like,
Sean, your volume is still kind of
my volume is out.
It's very low. It's just much lower than it was before you.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. Give me 1 second.
Just don't want you to have to talk into the screen like this for the rest of the show.
Can you hear me now?
Is it about the same? It's about the same. I don't know what happened there. I don't know why your computer went up there.
I don't know what happened there. How about now?
Now it's better. Whatever you just did was working.
My defaults got switched. It bounced me out for some reason. I don't know what happened. StreamYard, get with it.
What did you want to say before we move on to the Patriots game?
I based on some of these things that I'm looking at here and going down the list and the drafts that we've had and some of the signings that we had, I'm just questioning my faith in Ryan Poles making the right decisions on the offensive line.
Sean, you have every right to do that. You have every right to question. You have every right to question Ryan Poles' ability to evaluate and draft offensive linemen. I mean, if so far, Sean, the track record is not good. I mean, you should.
Been the best.
If you're intelligent and you know football, you should 100% question Ryan Poles' ability. Unfortunately, I mean, we could talk about that for hours, but that's all kind of like speculative. We don't know what's going to happen this offseason. We don't know if he's going to address the offensive line through free agency and add guys who are proven or go through the drafts. We don't know any of that stuff right now. I will tell you this, Sean. I know this for a fact. I don't know how. I don't know when. I don't know where. I don't know who. But the Bears are going to add offensive linemen in the offseason. If they don't, I'm out. I'm done. I'm going to become I'm going to be a Rams fan from here on out.
All right, guys, we're gonna give you a quick Bears Patriots, because I don't know how much we need to get into the Patriots. They're awful. Well,
I'm more just curious as to how do the Bears? What's the best way? What's the recipe for success against the new? How do the Bears get back on the winning road? How do they beat the New England Patriots on Sunday?
They got to get back to that balanced offense. They got to run the ball, and they have to be able to hit those quick hit passes. I would love to see number 85 in this game, because I'm going to tell you, what is he? I think is he 85 or 89? Hunter Henry on the other side.
He's 85 too. Or maybe I don't know.
He's going to be used a lot. If you saw Trey McBride tear us up, guys, he's the number 1 target. And Hunter Henry is probably an undervalued, underrated tight end in this league. He's really good at football.
No, it's not just Trey McBride. Zach Ertz had a good game against the Bears. Evan Ingram's had a good game against the Bears. The Bears are becoming a team that cannot stop tight ends. So yes,
which is really weird. But I guess maybe they have a little bit more success if Kyler Gordon and these guys.
Sean, if you remember, they were actually playing pretty well against tight ends early in the season.
Yep.
And then once they decided to commit to stopping the run because their defensive line was so leaky and those linebackers started to press up a little bit more, that's when the tight ends started to take advantage of the Bears linebacking core. And not to mention, Sean, who are we missing? Who's our nickel is important to stop. I mean, Kyler Gordon is huge for stopping tight ends.
He's one of the most important parts on this defense.
I think he might be the best player on the defense this year. I think Jalen Johnson overall and Montez Sweat are probably the two best players on the Bears. But I think this year, just the way he was playing, Kyler Gordon may have very well been the best. Sean, did you just see that Jalen Johnson was ranked the number one corner in the NFL?
Mm-hmm.
You see that by Pro Football Focus? Number one in the NFL.
People questioning that, but
I mean, to be in a list with Sauce Gardner and Patrick Surtain and all those, I mean, Jalen Johnson is just absolutely amazing, man. He does not get nearly enough credit. But Sean, I agree with you. I think the Bears, first of all, I said last week I'd like to see balance on running and passing. Just run, man. Just run the ball. The Bears just need to run the ball.
Hello, Brando.
Run as much as you possibly can. Run the clock out and play defense. That's what the Bears. Yes. The Bears need to get back to this Lovie Smith, Lovie Smith style of football, where you just run and don't give up a lot of points. That's what the Bears need, because you can't get Caleb Williams killed. Now that's your goal. Now is make sure Caleb Williams does not get hit 13 times a game. And Sean, like I said before, the Patriots have given up 31 sacks, which is a ton. So the Bears are going to hit Drake May. That's coming. We all know that. The Patriots are missing 3 offensive linemen as well.
Here's the deal, too. They turned the ball over. They had 5 picks and 6 fumbles on the season. That's the Bears' specialty. They don't score a lot. They're 24th in the league in scoring, 15.7 points per contest. So,
Sean, they only have 16 sacks on the season. And I know we said this about the Cardinals, so it's not like they're masters at getting after the quarterback. So Caleb Williams should have a little more time this week than he has in previous weeks. Now, that being said, I don't know who the Bears' offensive linemen are this week. I have no idea, guys. I don't know who's going to be the 5 guys lining up in front of. I'm assuming we're going to see Ryan Bates. Do you agree, Sean? We're going to see Ryan Bates this week.
I do.
If not, you traded a pick for him. I'll
tell you this. At some point. I'll tell you this. The 2 things that concern me about this game is obviously all the injuries on the defensive side of the ball that are missing, especially Brisker and Gordon over the middle.
Once again, Sean, real quick, sorry, you guys. Once again, I don't know how much of it is true. I only saw it on Instagram. I didn't get a chance to really dive deep into it, but there are rumblings that Jaquan Brisker may be shut down for the season, guys.
Mm-hmm. And I just think, for me, you cannot let that night train, Ramondre Stevenson, get going, man. If he gets going, it's going to look really similar to last week against Arizona, because now he's a load, man. He will wear the defense down. And Hunter Henry, he's involved in this offense. I mean, he gets six to 8 targets a week. He's averaging about 50 yards. He's had some really big games. These are the 2 keys, man, for the Bears defense. You have to focus on those 2 guys. Take those 2 guys away. I don't know about Kashawn Boot or Javon Baker, who they activated for the first time, I believe, last week. They have that other kid, Jalen Polk. I have enough faith in our corners to be able to shut them down. They don't see to be, super talented at the wide receiver position yet. But those are your keys, man. They're right in the middle of the league as far as being penalized. So be smart, stay whole, play disciplined football, run the ball. You run the ball.
Run the ball
30 fucking times in this game.
A lot. And you guys, just so you know, they're giving up 4.5 yards per rush, the New England Patriots, so 17th in the league, so right around the middle. Rush yards they've given up. The rush yards the Patriots this year have 999, and they've given up 1,230, so 1,200 yards rushing. So they're not great at stopping the run. You can run on this team. They're giving up 136.9 rushing yards per game. That makes them 26th in the NFL. The Bears, you can run on the New England Patriots. You just have to establish the run early. And I will say, guys, this is not me being a homer, I promise. But Sean, like you just mentioned, outside of Hunter Henry and Ramondre Stevenson, this is not a good football team, guys.
Yeah.
They have 3 offensive linemen out, just like the Bears. So injuries can't be an excuse for the Bears because the Patriots are dealing with the same shit. They have a rookie quarterback who, as well as he's as good as he's looked, he's still behind. The NFL is still fast-paced. He hasn't seen a defense like the Bears yet, a defense that can get, like you said, Sean, Montez Sweat was out last week, and they still had 3 sacks.
Yeah.
Montez Sweat plays this week, which I'm hearing is probably going to happen. They're saying he could have played last week. I would expect Drake May to be rushed a lot and be moved out of the pocket a lot. And this is going to sound crazy to all you guys out there. This is not me being a homer. This is just because of my assessment of the Bears on the road as opposed to playing at home. I think the Bears kill the Patriots, Sean. I really do. I don't think the Patriots score a touchdown.
Oh,
I do not think the Patriots are
you're
going
going
to
to have a lot more faith than I do, my friend.
Well, Sean, you know what? I know we've said this about teams in the past, but let's be honest, Sean. Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison, and Trey McBride are a lot different than Drake May, Demario Douglas, I guess you'd say.
Oh, I forgot about
Hunter
Demario Douglas.
Henry
He could be a problem too, man.
Yeah, but all of his catches are behind the line of scrimmage. The Bears are very good at tackling. They get to the ball quickly. They follow that hits principle. They swarm the ball. He's not like a take the top off the defense 70-yard bomb to Demario Douglas. You're not going to – I think he's 5'8", 5'9", like 170 pounds. I mean, this is just a bad matchup for the Patriots. That's what it is. I mean, I'm not saying that the Patriots are the worst team in football and they're not capable of winning games. They've proven that they're capable of winning games. They've beaten the Bengals and the Jets. I just think at home – the way the Bears played home, particularly their offense and DeAndre Swift, I think the Bears are going to kill them. I think the Bears are going to win this game. Sean, do you want to do your prediction or do you want me to give you mine?
Go ahead. I forgot to ask you pre-show.
I think the Bears win this game 27-9.
27-9, huh?
27. And
wow,
I do not think the Patriots will get in the end zone, Sean.
We're going to be way off, and I'm going to tell you – I'm going to tell you why I'm going to be a little bit different on this one as I get inside these numbers here. The Patriots are 23rd in the NFL in third down conversion rate at 34%. So that's obviously not very good. But if they do get inside the red zone, they're the sixth best team in the league. They have a 50% conversion rate. So this comes down to the Bears coming off the field.
Remember, guys, you got to take into account that the Patriots have been playing with two different quarterbacks this season. So how much of that is Drake May and how much of that is Jacoby Brissett? We don't know. You'd have to dive into
that. I don't know. But I will say this: if they play this bend don't break defense, which we know the Bears will, with a team who is very efficient inside the red zone, that gives me a lot of concern. Because they can't stop the run. If they hand that ball off to Ramondre Stevenson and they look remotely anything like they did against Arizona last week, he's going to score a couple of touchdowns.
Well, Sean, do you at least admit that Montez Sweat makes a huge difference in the run game as well?
I hope so. I'm worried about them being gashed up the middle without Billings there. I know he hasn't had the best season like he had last year where he was just absolutely outstanding against the run. But as you said earlier, Kyle, he's a big body in the line. He takes up space. It's harder to get around him. That's gone. And this, again, Ramondre Stevenson's a good running back. So, based on this third down, they suck on third down. So if we get him in this position, hopefully we can get him off the field. I have the Chicago Bears winning this game 24-21.
Wow, 3 touchdowns for the Patriots. Oh.
I'm going to tell you why. Until the Chicago Bears come out and don't look like they did in Arizona, my faith level has zipped way down because we both know how capable Ramondre Stevenson is. If they let him get going, the Bears offense is going to have to score points, which they can at home. They're going to give up points. That 50% conversion rate, sixth in the league in the red zone, is something that sticks out in my brain. That says, man, the Bears don't allow a lot of touchdowns in the red zone. They allow a lot of people to get there. So this is going to be iron sharpening iron here when these two guys meet.
Sean, let me see if I can sway your just give me one more chance here. And I don't blame you, Sean. We should all have reservations about the Bears. I'm not picking on you or making fun of you. I completely understand why Bears fans are kind of like hanging their heads here. But I'm going to go over the numbers here, guys.
Hey, Kyle, really quick, too. The Bears have only scored – I'm picking them to score 24 points this week. You had them at what, 27? I think I wrote that down wrong for you.
Yeah, they're averaging 31 points per game at home.
But they've scored 24 points in the last 2 weeks. I understand they're coming home, but that's kind of scary to me.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the numbers are playing out, right? They average 31 points a game at home. They've been much better at home. They average 15 points per game on the road. They've been much worse on the road. But here, let me give you guys Let me give you New England's numbers here, guys. Points per game. The New England Patriots are ranked 30th, averaging 15.7 points per game. Yeah. Their defense is ranked 21st, allowing 24.1 points per game. Yards per game. The Patriots are ranked dead last, have accumulated 264 yards per game. They are ranked 25th on defense, allowing almost 400 yards of offense per game. yards per play. The Patriots are ranked almost last, 31st. They average 4 yards per play. They've given up 6 yards per play, which has them ranked 26th in the NFL. Touchdowns per game, they're ranked 29th at 1.7 touchdowns per game. Their defense is giving up 2.7 touchdowns per game, which has them ranked 19th. So not as bad as everything else. Rush yards per game, they are giving up, rush yards per attempt, they're giving up 4.5 yards per carry, which has them ranked 17th. Rush yards per game, they're gaining 100. Sean, as good as Ramondre Stevenson is, this one kind of surprises me a little bit. The New England Patriots with Ramondre Stevenson are averaging 111 rushing yards per game, which is ranked 24th in the NFL, so near the bottom. And they're giving up 137 rushing yards per game, also ranked near the bottom, 26th. Pass yards per game, New England Patriots are averaging 150 yards passing per game, Sean, ranked dead last, obviously, not even close. They're way, 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 way at the bottom. And their opponents are averaging 225 passing yards per game, which has their defense ranked 22nd against the pass. So, guys, once again, I completely understand where Sean's coming from. I have my reservations with the Bears after these 2 games as well. But there's just no way around it. It's tough for this New England team to win on the road. It's tough for the Bears to lose at home. They're 4-0 at home. This team is bad. The New England Patriots are bad football team.
I'm going to give you one stat that is a little different for me. Since Drake May has taken over in week 6, the Patriots have averaged 20 points a week.
Yeah, they've definitely gotten better.
21, 16, 25, and 17. And we all know that the Titans defense is a pretty good defense. He went on the road last week in Tennessee, and I just want to grab these numbers really quick.
All right, real quick, though, before you give those numbers, Sean, that touchdown to tie the game was a 12-yard Hail Mary. He just threw that thing up in the air, too. He totally just was like, hey, the game's over. He did the right thing. The game was over. If you don't score, the game's over. He did the right thing. Throw the ball up in the air and hope somebody comes down with it. It worked out. But I'm telling you, if you do that against the Bears, probably not the same result.
Well, hold on. Didn't we just give up a Hail Mary 2 weeks ago?
We did.
Sorry.
I would hope that the Bears learn from that.
And Dustin, really quick, and yes, I do agree that he can run. I don't know if you were on the show earlier. I've said that. I said this pre-draft, and I'm starting to believe it even more now as he's starting to play professional football. I think he's a very young clone of Josh Allen. I really do, and I think as Drake May gets better, he might turn himself into a Josh Allen. I don't know if he'll ever be as good as Josh Allen because Josh Allen is absolutely amazing.
Josh Allen.
But I don't know. He makes me nervous, man.
Me in particular, the last thing I'll say about this game, guys, I just think ultimately in the NFL, most times things turn out to fruition to be as true as kind of like what you thought going into the season. The team is only as good as the sum of their parts. The Patriots are not a good football team, guys. They have the worst offensive line metrics than the Chicago Bears. They've given up 31 sacks already. Javon Dexter and Montez Sweat are supposed to play in this game. I do think that the Bears are going to get after Drake May. I think it's going to turn into an ugly game for the Patriots. I think the Bears win 27-9. And I'm just telling you guys, if you go look, I've looked at a lot of teams this season that the Bears have faced. I've never seen anything like this, guys. Offensive ranks, 30, 32nd, 31st, 29th. It's just, they're bad at everything.
You know what scares me, Kyle? This is what we were saying last week playing Arizona. This team's absolutely atrocious. We should kick their ass all up and down the field.
I don't think the Cardinals are atrocious. I think the Cardinals are
no, their numbers are atrocious.
Yeah, their offense is good. James Conner is a very capable running back, guys. He's a bruiser.
Last week, Stevenson had 10 carries for 16 yards. Drake May had 8 carries for 95.
Yeah, you got to keep an eye on Drake May. That's one thing the Bears have been good at this season so far is they're not letting running backs or quarterbacks run all over them. I mean, it's not like Kyler Murray.
I also agree with
Jane Daniels had their best day ever.
I agree with you because Josh Allen's first couple of years, everyone thought he was a bust. Like, this guy's going to suck. And
I'm kind of surprised that Justin's saying all this stuff because Justin had said on this podcast that I think he said Spencer Rattler was his 4th best quarterback coming in the draft. But you guys, I'll say it again. You guys can call me out if I'm wrong. I'll admit it. I think Bo Nix, Drake May, Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels, and Caleb Williams all could be very good quarterbacks in the NFL. And I know that's people are like, come on, Kyle, somebody in there's got to fail. But I'm telling you, this draft class was special. I think all these guys, you guys, if you go look at the last 6 or 7 weeks of the NFL, you know who one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL is in the last 7 weeks? Touchdown interception ratio, rushing yards, completion percentage. Bo Nix. Bo Nix has been. Sean Payton is starting to pull the best out of that guy, and he looks really, really, really good. He looks really good.
I mean, there goes Dustin. I was not a fan.
I'm not calling Dustin out. I'm just saying I had thought that Dustin said he didn't like May at some point. So when these comments make it sound like he really did, but I thought he said he didn't. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't. I'm saying Drake May. I had ranked at the bottom of all those guys, but he's proven me wrong too, Dustin. He looks like he's going to be a good quarterback in the NFL. All right, Sean, do you have any bets for this week?
I have not looked at a single thing. I didn't have time to get into it today with all this Bears stuff that was on my brain. So I didn't. I'm gonna post something on the website. Probably be up on Saturday. I might have time on Friday to look at it. So
Well, you guys, I went out. I looked at all the games Terry Ferguson. I looked at all the games this week coming up. Nothing is out, guys. Nothing is out. There's no over. The only thing that's out right now is Thursday night. That's it.
Yeah.
I looked at Sunday. There's a couple touchdown scorers, a couple odd receivers, over unders, but people who rarely ever even play. But for the most part, nothing is out. What I did do, guys, is I looked at the Thursday night game for you. I'm going to tell you guys, when I make my parlays or when I make my bets, I rank them from like 1 to 5 stars. 5-star being like, this is a 5-star bet. This is almost guaranteed to hit. Like, like it would be Sean, I guess you'd say like Derrick Henry, anytime touchdown score against Carolina. Like that's a 5-star bet, right? Like that's almost a guaranteed fact.
I'll give you one bet, and I haven't even looked at it. Whatever Tyrone Tracy's number is, take the over.
Yes. I have that written down here actually, Sean. But my Thursday night prop, guys, my Thursday night bet, guys, I'm ranking this one 3 out of 5 stars. So right in the middle. Could hit for you. Maybe it won't. Don't hate me if you make this bet and you lose. But these are the 3 things I would take off Thursday's game that I really like. Derrick Henry anytime touchdown scorer, guys. I told you guys this before. I'll say it again. I'm taking Derrick Henry anytime touchdown scorer every single week. Every single week. I think 1 week so far he hasn't gotten one. If it doesn't work out, but for the most part, Sean, if you had done that every single week this season, you would have won 8 out of 9 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's you guys take that. If you
Did
can
he
get
not
8
have
out
a
of 9
touchdown
wins.
1 week?
I think it was not this past week, but the week before that. I think he was held out of the end zone.
I'm going against him this week, so I'm really hoping he doesn't this week.
I might be wrong. I never looked at that parlay from 2 weeks ago because I know I lost it because of Zay Flowers. I knew I lost.
Thank you, Turd. We really appreciate it, bro.
I knew I lost that parlay, so I never went back and looked. But I don't believe Henry had a touchdown 2 weeks ago. But Derrick Henry anytime touchdown scorer against the Bengals. Mark Andrews over 43.5 reception yards against the Bengals. The Bengals are ranked 6th worst against tight ends this season, guys. So they're not good against tight ends. And Sean, did you hear who's out for this game?
T. Higgins, I'm pretty sure is out.
For the Ravens.
Oh, no.
Isaiah Likely is not going to play in this game, guys. So I expect Mark Andrews to have more targets than he's had all season. His over-under is 43.5. That's not that much. That's 2 big passes. That's 2 big passes he could hit that. Like I just said, the Bengals are ranked 6th against tight ends this season. I think Mark Andrews is easily going to get over that 43.5. That's actually the part of this parlay that I'm most confident about. This is the last one, Sean. You tell me what you think about this. The Ravens defense is 32nd against the pass, 31 against wide receivers in fantasy against the position. I have Jamar Chase over 82.5 receiving yards.
You know what? I like it, and he burned me on that last week.
Yeah, but it's not the Ravens. It's the Ravens. This secondary.
I know.
Awful.
Jamar Chase, and really quick, I'm all the way back up. Derrick Henry did score. He didn't have a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown.
Okay. So he has a touchdown every week, right?
Yeah.
He's got a touchdown every single week this season.
Derrick Henry, let's see, what week was this? When did they play the Bengals? In week 5, he had 15 for 92 and a touchdown. And Jamar Chase in that game, oh my God. He had 10 for $193 and 2 touchdowns.
Yes, so here I'm going to say
take the over.
I'm going to say you guys want to hear some really weird. Sean, tell me what you think about this. So I didn't do it because you can't parlay it. Okay, I don't know why. Mm-hmm. But listen to this, Sean. Jamar Chase's over/under on receiving yards is 82.5. Okay, his rush plus reception yards is over 81.5. It went down.
I would take that.
They're saying if he has a rush, he's going to lose the yard. But I'm not going to take that because you can't parlay it. That's the only reason I'm not taking it. They won't let me parlay it for some reason. So I'm going to tell you guys just one more time. if you're feeling ballsy tomorrow, you want a reason to watch the game. Hunter Henry anytime touchdown. Mark Andrews over 43.5 receiving yards. Jamar Chase over 82.5 receiving yards. Once again, Isaiah Likely is not going to play in this game, and neither is T. Higgins. I'm almost positive they've already ruled. Even if T. Higgins hasn't been ruled out, he didn't practice today, so not good for T. Higgins. Not good. So I think ultimately T. Higgins will be ruled out. It's going to be Jamar Chase all day, Mark Andrews all day, and then, like I said, guys, take Derrick Henry to score a touchdown every single week.
I have some kind of update going on. They won't let me in the DraftKings. But, guys, another thing to remember going into this, look at Mike Gesicki's over because they are
it's 56.
It's 56. I would take that all day. They are hemorrhaging receiving yards to tight ends. And, guys, there's no T. Higgins tomorro's.
Yeah.
Someone else got to catch the ball.
Dude, Mike Gesicki, I know you and I have made fun of that guy in the past. He's killing it, dude. That guy's been awesome. Really well. He's been awesome this year, man. That was really.
I don't want to tell you, but I have some fab on him this week because my tight end's on a bye.
Yeah, you should. Mike Gesicki has proven if T. Higgins is not playing, he should be on the fantasy team. He had 2 touchdowns last week. I think he had 100 yards too, if I'm not mistaken. Here's some other good matchups for the week, guys. These are just good matchups. The over-unders aren't out, so I can't tell you guys to take the over-under. Tyrone Tracy is playing Carolina, 32 ranked versus the position. I would take Tyrone Tracy rush plus reception yards because Tyrone Tracy is good at catching the ball. Saquon Barkley is playing Dallas. They're 29th versus the position. So just take Saquon Barkley on everything. Touchdown score, over, everything.
Do rushing. Make sure you do rushing and receiving with him.
Yeah. Jonathan Taylor is playing Buffalo. They are ranked 31 versus the position. I'd take his overs. Kyron Williams is playing Miami. They're ranked 26th versus the position. DeAndre Swift is playing New England. They're ranked 30th versus the position. Bijan Robinson is playing New Orleans. They're ranked 25th versus the position. Aaron Jones is playing Jacksonville. They're ranked 28th versus the position. But I will say, guys, buyer beware. Jacksonville's looked a lot better as a football team the last couple of weeks.
Isn't Jacksonville? I thought Jacksonville's playing Minnesota this week.
Yeah, Aaron Jones. I said Aaron Jones.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Arizona. My bad. Sorry.
Yeah, Aaron Jones against Jacksonville. But I will say, I don't know if I'm going to touch this one because not only is Jacksonville playing better as of late, but who's the guy they just traded for? The running back they just traded for? The Vikings.
And where?
The Vikings. Cam Akers. Cam Akers has also been taking carries away from Aaron Jones, so be careful with that one. And then last good matchup for running backs, Breece Hall is playing Arizona. They're ranked 23rd versus the position. Quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts against Dallas, Lamar Jackson against Cincy, Joe Burrow against Baltimore, Jared Goff versus Houston, and Brock Purdy versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is ranked 31st against position. I like Brock Purdy's overpassing yards because I think it's going to come in at like 240. I would definitely take that 100%. Patrick Mahomes got over 250, which I said you guys should take that on Monday. In the rain against Tampa, he got over 250 yards. And then here's your receiver matchups for the week that I like. Nico Collins, if he comes back this week, which they're saying he might, they're saying he's running in practice. He's making cuts in practice. He didn't practice today, but they said that was more just for rest purposes. But he's playing the Detroit Lions, who are ranked 32 against wide receivers this year, guys. Dead last in the NFL. Brian Thomas is playing Minnesota, 30th against the position. Jamar Chase against Baltimore, 31st against the position. Keon Coleman's playing Indy, 23 against the position. Justin Jefferson's playing Jackson. Hammer Justin Jefferson, guys. Hammer it. I don't care what I don't care what the over-unders are.
I got it. I'm playing Justin Jefferson and Derrick Henry on the same team this week, dude.
Oh, God. Amon-Ra St. Brown is playing Houston, 27th versus the position. And Deebo Samuel is playing Tampa Bay, 26th versus the position. Another one I would consider, if you're really in the mood for gambling and you want to make every game interesting, A.J. Brown is playing Dallas. They're 19th versus the position. So not awful, but not great. And then your tight ends, you got T.J. Hockenson against Jacksonville, Mark Andrews against Cincinnati. We already talked about Dalton Kincaid against Indy, 30th against the position, and George Kittle against Tampa, 28th against position. If you guys watched the game on Monday, Travis Kelce had no problems against Tampa Bay. I think George Kittle absolutely destroys Tampa Bay. I would take all of his overs for sure.
Is Kansas City off this week? Are they going to buy?
I don't know. They're not in any of my bets here, so probably. And then real quick, Sean, I just want to do the for touchdown scores, guys. I like Josh Allen to score rushing touchdown against Indy. I like Jalen Hurts to score rushing touchdown against Dallas. I like Daniel Jones to score rushing touchdown against Carolina. And then you have Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, Tyrone Tracy, Breece Hall, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Nico Collins. If you're gonna, I don't like touchdown scores, Sean. We've talked about this before. Not my favorite bet in the world. They're very hit or miss. But if you're going to place one this weekend, those are the guys I like. Then for fantasy, real quick, guys, and we'll get out of here.
Yeah.
My fantasy stardom of the week. Sean, you've already said it. Tyrone Tracy against Carolina, guys. Tyrone Tracy has gotten more and more touches every single week since he started to get involved in his offense. And Carolina is ranked dead last against running backs this season. And that's not just running, guys. That's catching the ball as well. And Tyrone Tracy has very good hands for running back. Tyrone Tracy was a very good pick for the Giants. I'm not saying he's going to replace Saquon Barkley, but man, it's like they never skipped a beat. That guy's going to be a good player in the NFL for a long time.
If you guys remember our fantasy show from the beginning of the year,
that was Sean's sleeper in the draft. Everybody, he did say that. Another thing Sean said a couple weeks ago, guys, I think it was the week that Devontae Adams got traded. Mike Williams would be traded away from the Jets, and Sean was right about that as well. He is now a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. My sit-em of the week is Tank Bigsby and or Travis Etienne against Minnesota, ranked 6th versus the position. I don't trust Travis Etienne as far as I can throw him. I wouldn't be putting that guy in my lineup until he has 3 or 4 consecutive good games. I don't like Travis Etienne against Minnesota. I don't like Travis Etienne in general. I mean, as a player, I don't know the guy, but I would not be playing him against Minnesota. My wide receiver stardoms of the week are Keon Coleman versus Indianapolis, ranked 23 versus the position, and Tank Dell versus Detroit, ranked dead last versus wide receivers this season in fantasy football. And if Nico Collins plays, obviously Nico Collins is a start every week, but if he doesn't play, I think Tank Dell has a really, really big day against Detroit. My sit-em of the week, I know he's been good for people in fantasy as of late, Sean. He's been the last 3 weeks, he's had double-digit fantasy points. But Josh Palmer does not have a good matchup this week against Tennessee. They're ranked 5th against the position. Like I said, I know Josh Palmer's quietly been really good in fantasy the last 3 weeks. He's filled in for me very well in my Yahoo league, but man, this is not a good matchup for Josh Palmer, not at all. And then my QB's stardom of the week is Sam Darnold versus Jacksonville. I think Sam Darnold will have a good game against the Jaguars. The Jaguars, once again, guys, dead last versus the position, dead last. And that's a desperation play. I'm not saying if you have Josh Allen and Sam Darnold, start Sam Darnold over Josh Allen. I'm saying if you've got nothing because your quarterback's on a bye week, you can put Sam Darnold in your lineup. He should get you anywhere 20, 30 points, somewhere in between there. And then, Sean, this one's going to surprise you a little bit. My sit of the week at quarterback is Jaden Daniels against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 2 against the position. You guys go look at the Pittsburgh Steelers games this season. No quarterback has had a good game against Pittsburgh Steelers. I think their defense is legit.
They are.
Not only do I think Jaden Daniels is to sit against the Steelers, but if you feel like betting on the game, I'm taking the Steelers money line over the Washington Commanders. I think the Commanders lose their 3rd game of the season this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anything else you want to get into, Sean?
No, ladies and gentlemen, I will have my bets and stuff back. It's a busy week this week, the election and everything else going on. I got a little caught up in that. So I will have them out on the website, and we'll have them back on the show. I really, really wanted to get into some of this Bears stuff that we got into today because there's just so much to unpack about what's going on the lakefront. So I'm glad we had a chance to do that. Monday, I think we had a lot of passion in the show and it got a little out of control at times. But, when you come into a season with expectations, high expectations, and I'm not saying Super Bowl expectations, but I'll say competent expectations, and you're falling flat on your face and you look like the team that you have, as I said earlier, you've taken us from last place in the NFC North to last place in the NFC North. Nothing has changed. Nothing's really improved.
And I will say, Bears fans, especially the ones out there, the pessimists, the ones who are hanging their heads low, which you have every right to do. You see that dark out in that dark grim sky. You see those stars shining. We're going to have DJ Moore for the next 6 years, guys. DeAndre Swift's here for 3 years. Rome Odunze is going to be a very good player in the NFL. There's no doubt in my mind. And the brightest star of all, guys, Caleb Williams is going to be a very good quarterback at some point. He needs to get away from his coaching staff. And then obviously you got guys like Cole Kmet, Montez Sweat, Jalen Johnson, Jaquan Brisker, Kyler Gordon, Javon Dexter. I mean, ultimately, this team is built. They have the foundation to be good in the future. They just have to have a very good offseason, a smart offseason. You don't have to sign 50 splash players, like the best top 10 free agents in free agency. You just have to add to the offensive line, the defensive line, and get a new coaching staff. And I know that's a lot. I know that's a ton. People are like, dude, that's like the whole team. But I'm saying
I should correct my statement too.
But Sean, the core is here, right? Do you believe that the core of this team is here? DeAndre Swift, DJ.
Yeah, that's
Moore,
why I want to correct my
Roma
statement.
Dunze, Caleb Williams.
They have improved. The results have not improved. The
Yeah,
roster has improved.
I will say, as bad as the Bears have looked for the last couple weeks, if they win this game on Sunday, they're 5-4. When's the last time the Bears could say that they had a winning record through 10 weeks of the NFL season?
But as we get to that 5-4, and I look at the schedule, they could finish 6-11.
Yeah,
100%. And that's what's scary about it right now. That's what's scary
sure.
about
And you know what? Part of it is injuries, and I know that that's not an excuse because everybody's injuries. The problem is the Bears just didn't do enough to address the depth behind the injuries, depth at the offensive line, depth on the defensive line. They just didn't do enough. And eventually, we thought this team was a little bit above average coming into the season. We thought they could be like a fringe playoff team, maybe a wild card. You're seeing now, guys, they needed everything to go right. Things aren't going right for them. The injuries, the coaching staff. Now they're starting to look like the Bears again. They do have some work to do this offseason, but I think that they're capable of doing it. And I do think the future is bright for Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. It's just going to be a rough ride for the rest of the season here. Thank you very much to everybody for listening. Turf Ferguson, Breaking News Bruce, Liz, Dustin, Brandon, Sean. I know I'm missing some people here. Help me out. We didn't have some of the usual suspects tonight.
Breaking Bruce, Dustin, Brandon, Liz. I got to get on my wife. She's not checking out the show anymore. I'm gonna have to get on her.
Yeah, man.
Turd, man, we really your
Stephanie,
first time watching.
You're breaking our hearts here, Steph.
Yeah,
you got to come back. I don't see an Avery sighting either.
Yeah, I'm gonna yell at her. We're trying to tell her to stay off her phone so gosh damn much. You know what? I want to show you this before I leave, dude. Watch Dak Prescott. Watch this.
Well, Dak, you suck. I'm sorry, guys. The 4 Stars podcast knows this, guys. I am not a big fan of Dak Prescott. I will say though,
Dakota.
I will say though, and I know Dak Prescott's gonna be out for a month. I still think Jonathan Mingo is a guy to keep your eye on in fantasy. I think he's going to immediately slot into the number 2 receiver there over Jalen Tolbert. People keep saying I'm wrong, that Jalen Tolbert's still going to be number 2. I don't think so. I don't think you trade a 4th-round pick for a guy who was once – he was a 1st-round pick, wasn't he, Sean?
I believe so. And I'll tell you this, the Ole Miss product, I had a lot of faith in him coming into the season. I bought like 9 of his rookie cards before the season started. So I'm hoping that he takes off in Big D.
Sean, do you think it's fair to say that it's not really fair to critique people who have been playing on the Panthers for the last year and a half?
I 100%.
That team is a disaster, absolute disaster. Talked about it before. That is the worst ownership team in the NFL.
I
Worse
will
than the
say
Bears.
this though about Carolina Panthers, and I know it's not showing this year, but I personally, and other people don't have to, I have a lot of faith in Dave Canellis. I think he's going to get that ship turned around, and I think they're going to be a much better ball club.
Yeah,
much like
certainly can't judge Dave Cannell. I mean, dude, that roster is horrendous. It's
really
brutal.
bad.
And they had like this lone bright spot in Deontay Johnson, and they're like, all right, well, take it easy, Deontay. I mean, like, I'm not judging anything that happens to Dave Canellis for the rest of the season.
I will tell you
That's
this, though,
awful.
Kyle.
He was awful.
Your tight end that you touched on a couple of weeks ago in Carolina, Sanders, Javante Sanders, or whatever, I can't remember.
JT Sanders, I think they have his name.
He's tearing it up right now.
Yeah.
They actually do. I mean, Legette's been decent.
Yeah, Vernon mentioned him before the season. That was Vernon's sleeper tight end.
Yeah, that was Brandon's sleeper tight end. Now that you say that.
You guys, if you're looking for desperation flex or a tight end, you've got some injuries or some bye weeks, I have no problem putting Sanders in my lineup, none whatsoever. I think he can get you 8 to 12 fantasy points every week. I know that's not great, but if you're in 12-14 team league and the waiver wire and the free agency class is not looking very good, pick up a guy like Sanders, man. He'll contribute to your team.
Not only Sanders, guys, Taysom Hill, I don't know if he'll be out there, but I mean, there's nobody left in New Orleans. He's going to be a part of the offense. I mean, he had 20 rushing yards this week, 41 receiving yards. He had a touchdown and 4 catches. I mean, he's going to get you fantasy points. Tight ends ultimately, for the most part, have been disappointing. No more than Dalton Kincaid, but Sam Laporta, though, too. I know he had a big week, not this week, but 2 weeks ago. But going into 2 weeks ago, and he had 15 targets on the year. That is insane to me.
Yeah.
Like, I understand.
We talked about that. We talked about
good,
we talked about it. If Jameson Williams really is that guy and becomes the really good number 2 receiver, Sam Laporta is not going to be as is utilized as we thought he was going to be going into the season. And Jameson Williams, I know he's hit or miss, he's boom or bust, but on the games where he shows up, he's a really good player.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Well, guys, we have this. The Bears, Kyle, 27-9. I got a little bit of a closer battle on the lakefront this weekend. Hopefully Kyle's right and I'm wrong, because I would really like to have a laugher and have an easy Sunday from 12 to 3. So if not, well, we'll deal with this and we'll be sweating in our boots again if the Bears can't stop the run.
Yeah, and then you guys, as soon as you're done here, Sean and I will be on the Chicago Sports Podcast, Brennan Tracks at 8:30 tonight, and we'll be breaking down a little more about the injuries and a little more about this Patriots game coming up. So if you guys got nothing to do after this, you feel like listening to talking Bears, come over to that show and get in the comments there. We'll love to answer questions for you guys. So
and don't forget about Dustin and Brando tomorrow after the Thursday night Cincinnati Bengals and Baltimore Ravens tilt. They'll be throwing down their Patriots predictions, and I'm sure get into the mess that we know as the Chicago Bears. Hold on.
Anything you want to get out there before we wrap up?
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
All right. Yeah. Let's go.
Forever's going to be one of my favorite clips, dude. But everybody, until next week, bear down. Let's get this victory, boys. We'll see you. Very important matchup. For the
bear down.
Bear down.